got 10 hours till the deadline, so we dig in.
Get that story out, Rock. Parker, throw in the damn towel. You see we got that pop-out thing going on? Yeah, take a shit all over that.
Post.
Now, this is back in 1960s during Nixon's era. Y'all know Nixon. He is now the guy where we say not only was the Vietnam War something that was a horrible thing, it was a politician's war in the worst ways, but we all know that Nixon had a great hand in getting us into that. You know, pretty much pride fucking with you. Thousands of young men dying because we too proud to pull out of a war that we were losing. Turns out that the Post at the time, what Washington Post, they got evidence of this. Some documents saying, yes, this war is something that we're losing, and it is something that we just don't want to pull out of because, well, you know, marketing and shit. Can't make the government look bad. And the only thing that people have to decide now is this information worth releasing to the public, the American people, the world that needs to know the truth. Are we worried about our jobs? Are we worried about that money, keeping this business going? Are we ready to go to jail to actually put the truth out there? And we're going to tell you a little bit more on that along with our review for this. Martin, you saw this, right?
I did.
So we're going to watch.
It was a while ago.
So can you remember, Martin? Can you muster up some knowledge?
I can recall some of it.
Some of it? Okay, Martin. Recall it, get them brain cells working and recall as much as you can. And to help you out, I'm going to show you the trailer, which might bring back some memories and opinions.
Helps.
All right, Martin, I would normally not do this, but just for you, sir. I'm going to show this trailer for the Post.
So, can I ask you a hypothetical question?
Oh, dear, I don't like hypothetical questions.
Well, I don't think you're going to like it.
Oh, dear.
I love that. Just that tone of voice, like, oh, what is it now?
It was like, oh, shit. What does Tom Hanks want now? Hey, Street, let me hold $5.
Do you have the papers?
Not yet.
This is a devastating.
Sound like about to smoke weed or something. Got them rolling papers.
What will happen if we don't publish? What are you going to do, Mrs. Graham?
And speaking of Catherine Graham, who actually was the first female publisher of a major newspaper, and that is Tom Hanks as Ben Bradley, who's running the Washington Post now. With this here, I say that because there are a lot of parallels that this movie hopes to make, which might help it during Oscar season.
Yeah.
You know, the parallels I'm talking about are, you know, there's a lot of relevant things going on. One being that we are in the era of a highly paranoid president. He does have a war on journalism that people perceive. And, of course, there's the constant scrutiny and doubt of a woman who's in power here. And as far as that goes, I mean, that is great that we have those parallels there. Do they work to the effect that the movie wants them to? I don't know, Martin. You know, because I look at this and I say, well, first of all, look, this is Spielberg. Spielberg is seasoned. I mean, it's one thing to mess with.
Like Cajun rice.
Like Cajun tasty-ass rice, Martin. Like the best potato chip you ever had. It is seasoned perfectly. You just compare Spielberg to potato chip. Yes, I did. Getting bird chips. Good. Now, you know, here's the thing, man. You are dealing with a man who is not only a seasoned veteran director, but a genius, some people say. There's a lot of things going on for this guy where when he makes a movie, it's still somewhat of an event because we know that chances are maybe the movie won't be perfect, but we're going to see a lot of great elements in there. Mm-hmm. One, of course, is working with talented people. Tom Hanks He is, all these directors have their muse now. Leonardo DiCaprio, he's bought by Scorsese.
Right.
Bought.
Yeah. That's right. Tim Burton had Johnny Depp for so long.
He had Johnny Depp, yeah. Till Johnny Depp turned to a free agent and started beating people up. But when we always known that Spielberg had Hanks, man.
Sure.
He's always been inspired by Hanks and his great work. And Hanks is great here, man. Only problem with Tom Hanks being great, it almost works against him. Because Tom Hanks is so great at a point now where you just say, yeah, so?
Oh, I know. That's why he stopped winning Oscars. Just because they were like, yeah, of course you were great.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah.
You got to set yourself on fire if you want to get our attention.
Yeah. Yeah, Tom Hanks is so great that it's not a compliment anymore. It's just like,
dude, I lost 80 pounds for that role. Yeah, so you did that with Castaways.
Yeah, so what?
Do something new.
Yeah, people get mad when you tell them that Tom Hanks is great. Tom Hanks is great. Motherfucker, so what? And water's wet. Don't let you ever insult me like that no more again. You think I'm stupid?
Oh, I'm supposed to give him an award for being great again? Yeah, he's always great.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. People get mad. Tom Hanks is wonderful. That don't mean shit to me.
I ain't impressed by that.
Yeah. And the thing with Tom Hanks is that he is great, but I would tell you in this movie, he cannot get that Boston accent down too great. And
it's okay.
It's okay, but to the point where he's like shifting his mouth to one corner. He's like sounding like Rocky's trainer. I gotta get this paper out, Rock. Got to get the truth out. Oh, he's talking like Popeye. It's like, are you having a stroke in this movie, man? That's his way of doing a Boston accent. I would say that he probably can't get it down that well, which for him being so great, that's something that you just cannot. It's something that really does stand out. On the contrary, Meryl Streep. Again, somebody else is like, don't tell me she's great because I know that already, making me look stupid. But she is. She's the one that actually in the film is probably the one that you watch and she's natural. She has the most natural performance here. She stands up for herself as a woman, but she does it without having to do any dramatic grandstanding or giving some huge speech.
I would double what you just said because you see her in so many movies where she's so much the big lead. And she's great.
Yeah.
But here, where it's an ensemble, even with the scene she gets, because she's not even she doesn't even dominate the screen most of the time. But she's even watching these clips, you just see how much goes into just the minutia of her performances. Just little details. The way you see the conflict in this character, so much that she has on her shoulders, and she's trying to be reserved and not overplay it. And it feels very natural. And whenever she's on screen, I have nothing but sympathy for her.
Yeah, she's going up against so much in the film, but she's behaving. The reason why I feel it's natural is because she's behaving like a leader.
Yeah.
She never loses her cool.
Right.
She's like, I got to keep this shit together for everybody.
Everybody's doubting me. They're waiting for me to make the wrong move. I don't want to make the wrong move.
Yeah, and her ego never gets into it, man. She really is giving a great performance here, man. Which again, we expect out of her, but no, here it really is another level of Meryl Streep where you see like, all right, you know what, Spielberg is in there, but she knows what she's doing too. You're working with somebody who knows what they're doing with the role. I think that more than the performances though, the real standout here, this is a director's movie. It's not even a performance movie. This is a director's movie.
Sure.
This is, when I say that, like I said, this shows the sheer power of a director that knows what he is doing. This is a veteran director who has been doing this combined with their talent. They're doing some incredible things here. And when I say that they understand how to do this more than the average person behind the camera, I'm talking about they understand staging, framework, and action. Now, I sound like I'm doing some film school textbook class right here, but a lot of people say those words. But you don't understand how it is until you see somebody doing it. Spielberg keeps things moving in this movie all the time. Even when the camera is standing still. That shit is still ducking and weaving. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
When I look at this, there are intricate shots built around almost a a ballet of movement, a cinematic ballet of movement. They build these sets to be weaved around, to go from one office to another, following characters in these shots. They're very complicated. You have to move over objects to get to where you're going. You know, it's amazing how they keep the camera moving here and things, and how dynamic this movie is. You know, there are tracking shots that they follow characters who are in a hurry from going one place to another, really putting that feeling of urgency in there. All of this is so well choreographed. This movie's so well directed. If you have dreams of being a director, sometimes you don't need to watch Spielberg movie. That motherfucker crush your dreams in a minute. Well, fuck it, I can't do that.
You can't do that. Come on.
Hell, I'm gonna sell insurance like my mom told me to do. You know,
Your equipment has arrived. Just take it back.
Donate that shit. Yeah, this will make you feel powerless, man. If you just coming up, and they even do it with still shots. There are shots in the movie where people will be in a shot where nothing is happening at all, and things will be focused on objects. Things will be focused on things like a box. Nothing's going on, but you know that some information is in that box. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
There was one scene in this film, and I wish I had it, where when I'm talking about action happening at all times, there's a scene where Tom Hanks is talking, and he's nervously holding this ball, and the ball belongs to this little girl. And that little girl's behind him the whole time. Motherfucker, I can have my ball back. You remember? And she keeps trying to interrupt, and it's a bit of humor that doesn't overshadow the scene or doesn't bother the scene. It accentuates the scene. Mm-hmm. There are amazing shots in here where they just look great. And there's something happening there. Oh, you see that shot right there?
Yeah, that's a great shot.
Where somebody's on the phone and it's well composed. You can see how he's using the buildings and the composition. The cars are going by. This is a painting that is moving. I hate to sound like I'm like some pretentious, film school student, but
too late.
Yeah, hey. So what? Fuck it. I'm going out there when it deserves to be said this way. I will say it. And the thing I love about Spielberg the most is when he actually keeps the scene going with dialogue. This is not only an actor's movie, but this is like almost. And I don't mean to talk about these people like this, but B-list and character actors. It's them.
I would say B-list, but character actors for sure. This is definitely a character actor bonanza.
Oh, it is. Like who is some of the, like Tracy Letts?
Bob Odenkirk.
Bob Odenkirk.
Carrie Coon. Who are some of the other people? There's so many. Like Bradley Whitford. We just saw them there. Bruce Greenwood. There's so many in the newsroom. Almost everybody who's working in there. I'm like, oh yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and what happens is it's something you see early on. If you watch some of his early movies like Jaws and some other films where, he's got this screwball comedy thing going on, which doesn't always have to be in a comedy, where all these characters are just kind of talking, overlapping dialogue. Mm-hmm. And even when the camera's not moving that much, it keeps this momentum in the scene. Like you'll see right here when they're uncovering the documents or taking it out of the box.
Huh. Are these in order?
I don't think so.
How are we supposed to comb through 4,000 pages?
They're not even loosely organized?
The Times has barely scratched the surface. We dig in.
Get that story out, Rock. Parker, throw in the damn towel. You see we got that pop-out thing going on? Yeah, we took a shit all over that. It's like a penguin and shit. The post. It's but do you hear how that dialogue sounds like? It's slightly chaotic with people talking of each other, but it's so well staged.
Sure.
It's
oh yeah, and David Cross. I thought he was
David Cross. Yeah. Yeah, Martin, how you feeling about this movie though?
Well, I agree with everything you're saying. I'm just not in love with it like you are.
Who said I'm in love with it, Martin? Bitch, you don't know me. Think you know me. Just because we've been together 25 years.
Well, one thing I would say to your early point about Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep with Steven Spielberg, it's like, yeah, man, we know you're one of the greatest, if not the greatest. So you make him making a good movie. I ain't impressed by that. I mean, it's cool. Yeah, of course he makes a good movie. He does that in his sleep. But is it one of his best? Is it even one that's you would put high on a list?
I like the way Spielberg is somewhere like that. He's like, damn, nigga, what you want me to do? Like, do my worst? You're like, I can't be good? I can't believe this.
Not you.
I can't even be good?
No. No, not you.
I'm great and I get criticized?
Because here's the thing. With this coming out at awards season, and everybody know it's Spielberg, because Spielberg has a name now. And you look at the cast list. You go, man, it's Spielberg and Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep and all these people. Guaranteed, this has got to be one of the best movies of this year in the top 5, in the top 2, maybe the best.
Yeah.
And I think when you see it, because of all this that it comes in with, you can't help but come out kind of disappointed.
Well, you know something? Here's the thing, Martin. This is why I took such umbrage at you talking about you know me. I adore the direction in this movie, but I'm not in love with the film either, Martin. So fuck you. No, you know I don't mean that, man. No, I totally know where you're coming from, and let me tell you why. Because, and I don't want to sound like I'm dismissive of history, but this whole thing with the Watergate era, it just feels like that's just not a big deal the way you're approaching it right now.
This movie it thinks all this stuff is more important than most of the rest of us do at this point.
Yeah.
It's all that happened. We already saw a movie earlier with Liam Neeson this year. Last year about the same thing. It's almost like that movie plays like the sequel to this. Because this movie leads right into it. He's like, what happens next, though? Check that movie out. But right now, really, as much as it's drawn the political parallel between Nixon and Trump, right now we're dealing with much bigger fish than that was right there.
It was kind of like how it felt about Bright, where I was like, you are talking about racism with orcs, where racism exists with real people. I'm like, all right, I don't need no Lord of the Rings to tell me this shit. With The Post, we're dealing with already urgent issues. That's gone,
Yeah.
But it's not because, and look, I don't mind being told about history again. Like
No, not at all.
This is something where we really we haven't really had this side of the story for a lot of people. I didn't know that this was something that was happening. But the reason why I put it this way is because the parallels are there. That's great, but the center piece, the subject matter at the center of it all, is just not working, which is Nixon. We need to be focused on Nixon in this movie.
Yeah.
When I'm looking at this, I'm laughing almost because, the way of dealing with Nixon here is and I'm trying to see if I can find a frame here. The way of dealing with Nixon in this movie is to have voiceover. There it is. It's to have voiceover with some body double with his back turned.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? No, we need Nixon not as a distant, shadowy figure. We need him as a villain. We need somebody to root for. We need somebody to root against. And that's the reason why, because I don't mean to draw comparisons, but it's there. That is why something like Spotlight worked. See,
that was the thing, because being that this is an ensemble piece where nobody really gets to be that much of the star and it's back and forth and all about a news story coming out, I was like, man, there've been so many movies like this throughout history. And you watch them, you're like, okay, that was good. You walk away and you just kind of don't remember them.
Yeah.
Spotlight was the first one where it was like, wow, that really, I felt an impact from that. And I was like, this is the way to do this. So to see this movie, it's almost like a pre-Spotlight throwback. And I was like, Spotlight really knew how to hammer this home.
Well, the reason why, because people look at Spotlight and they're like, wow, they made journalism look so exciting.
Yeah.
And then you actually became a journalist like, shit, this is boring. No, what happened was that Spotlight, when you think about it, the reason why the journalism was exciting is because they gave you a villain to go up against, and the journalists had to get their resources together and band together to go up against that villain.
The Boston priest molested kids in 6 different parishes over the last 30 years. The church found out about it and did nothing. And that's the kind of thing your team would do.
Spotlight?
Oh, getting the Avengers together. Avengers of journalism. Spotlight actually went in and you had something that you really rooted for. These Catholic, journalists going up against these Catholic priests.
It is Sabretooth and the Vulture and Howard Stark.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, all in one room. Yeah, getting ready to suit up. Spotlight! Shining the light on injustice everywhere and rape. This movie gave you These journalists who were the underdogs, pulling their
Right.
meager resources together to go up against this powerful organization who had the money to cover up things. That is why the journalism here seems so exciting. With this movie here, Watergate, we know where Watergate leads to. We know what happens with Watergate. And the whole thing with Watergate now is like not Watergate itself, but its central figure. Like, we love fucking with Nixon, man.
Yeah.
We love looking at Nixon. We need to have that point where they find these papers and Nixon comes like, shit. Nixon is such a weird and interesting figure. He almost is bigger than the scandal itself. Like, that's one of the things that worked against him is his paranoia and his strange character. There's still things that they're like, okay, this is cool. I still want to hear about Nixon and Elvis. I want to hear about stories like that.
Well, also with this, it's the Washington Post. They're like, we want to be able to publish a story that the New York Times has already had the scoop on and going to put out there. So we're just like, as big as this story is, we're hearing about the second paper and whether they get to publish it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of small, unless you're a big fan of the Washington Post, because it's good to see that, like, okay, they would have been just a local paper had this not happened. It catapulted them to being a nationally recognized.
Yeah.
But outside of that, you're like, well, good for you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This is an interesting piece of history that I did not know. Found it interesting. I did not really throw myself into it like I did with something like Spotlight. Now, I hate to keep comparing it to that, but just one more time to just drive home why this really doesn't work as well for me is because Spotlight took me into the inner workings of journalism as they were going after something bigger. This movie is just telling me the power of the written word.
Yeah.
We must not hold this information back, and the newspapers have responsibility for the people. Rah rah, the printed word. It's kind of just it's almost preachy in a way.
Yeah.
It's really just kind of grandstanding for its own cause instead of making me a part of it, which is sad because, like I said, it's a wonderfully directed film. I'd give this a full price. I give it a full price, just not award-winning full price.
And I would give it a high matinee.
Okay.
And a lot of that is because when you go see this, I would warn you that the first hour is going to feel like, well, okay, what's going on here? It takes a good hour before it to really connect and kick in for you.
See, that's why I would say the direction where it comes in. Like, if you really do admire direction, and that hour will not go, it will pass for you.
Yes,
I really was admiring everything.
I see your point with that.
There's a scene I was talking about, like that thing right there. The camera doesn't move, but look how strategically that box is placed.
Sure.
Where you're looking at that, knowing what's in it. I'm like, God damn, it's a box, man. Come on, quit kissing this guy's ass.
Yeah, it's Marcellus Wallace's soul in that
thing. It's like it's a box with some rope on it, man. Come on, this man ain't that much of a genius. Oh, Mark, it's beautiful. The box. The box.
But the way he just shows a box.
Mark, genius. Mark, you know what's in that box? Genius. I know y'all like, man, come on, man.